This is 90s Thor, issue 16, part 2 in our look at the story of 90s Thor and Crusher Man. And this is another of my comics that has been held together by strategically placed bits of tape. If anyone looks for it in all my videos, they will be amazed by how many of these comics that I review are being held together by tape. This is 90s Thor's solo series, which lasted a respectable 24 issues. And the myth is that at one time it was even outselling the regular Thor title. But that is hollow praise, because the regular Thor title was doing that abysmal storyline where Thor went crazy. This is by Tom Falcon and Ron Frenz again. There is Crusher Man. And I realised in the last video and in any other video, I never explained his powers to newcomers. He can absorb the properties of whatever he is in contact with. Like, he touches a brick wall and he can transform his body into the same material. He carries around a ball and chain so that he has something at hand to touch and copy the composition of. It also got enchanted by Tom Hiddleston, so it has some magical abilities similar to Thor's armor. I think the ball and chain originally comes from when he was in prison in the 60s and they shackled him to a ball and chain. I didn't know why that went out of style. It's pretty funny. I didn't get into politics, or at least my own, but you know what? This is a horse I am willing to back. Bring back the ball and chain. I think even in the 1960s, when Crusher Man was introduced, it wasn't a thing anymore. It was like the 17th and 18th century. I don't know why the American judicial system is slapping this sort of restraint on a prisoner in the 60s. If they didn't do it to Manson, they're not going to do it for a petty crook like Crusher Man. Anyway, him and Jamelia Jamil are having a domestic. It is set up like Crusher Man thinks she is having an affair, but he's actually mad because he thinks she has been sneaking out to do crimes behind his back. They are trying to go straight and not break the law, but Jamelia Jamil, she cannot get out her past and her hatred for She-Hulk, who was one of her first superhero fights. There has been a significant amount of time which has passed between yesterday's chapter and this one. And there was actually another story where 90s Thor and Crusher Man teamed up. But I opted to skip that one to keep this a concise 3-issue feature. 90s Thor is at Avengers House with Hank Gordon, and they are testing the power levels of one of 90s Thor's friends / sometimes enemies, who is called Stellaraxus. And then 90s Thor, he gets a phone call from Crusher Man, who has gotten an idea that he wants to share with 90s Thor. He thinks that they should organise a fight between She-Hulk and Jamelia Jamil. The idea being that Jamelia feels she needs to fight She-Hulk one last time to get over all her hatred and her fears of her. And She-Hulk is appalled at 90s Thor for actually trying to arrange this. But I think this is unfair. He is being an idiot as expected. But I think this could be a lot better an idea if thought through. Like, if they did a charity boxing match, something like that. Something that would benefit people more than just Jamelia Jamil. Something that could be a good thing. The cover kind of suggests that too, but it's 90s Thor, so he wasn't going to have a good idea. She-Hulk's, even though she disagrees with it, she agrees to go along with it. And they meet the other two to discuss things. And it's at the same place in Central Park as they met in 436. So there is some nice continuity there. Shame that they ignored continuity from 419 on this page before, with She-Hulk having already met and fought Stellaraxus, but here being presented as if they have never seen each other. So then 90s Thor, he transports them to a more barren locale where they can fight without endangering anyone else. That is like one of the few times 90s Thor does something that is what a hero would do without mucking it up. A misunderstanding fight breaks out on top of the actual fight with She-Hulk because Stellaraxus has snuck along and Crusher Man thinks that 90s Thor has betrayed them to the Avengers. With She-Hulk and Jamelia Jamil, they have quite a history. In Secret Wars, when Jamelia was first introduced, she teamed up with Crusher Man and the Urton crew, and they almost beat She-Hulk to death. But ever since then, whenever she has gone one-on-one against She-Hulk, she has always been defeated. Jamelia is kinda scared of She-Hulk because of it. And she also previously had a similar fear of Spider-Man, who was the hero who defeated her in Secret Wars. And this fight here is meant to be like therapy to get Jamelia over her fixation. And she is so determined to win this. She is even flat out cheating. The stuff with Crusher Man isn't very compelling. Earlier in the issue, Crusher Man, he suggested that him and 90s Thor would go and grab a couple of beers when the girls fight. And I honestly would have preferred that to this pointless, distracting fight. And even though Jamelia is using Nintendo Power Gloves to make herself stronger, she still gets beat by She-Hulk. She-Hulk fails to realise that the more sensible thing to do would be to throw this fight and allow Jamelia Jamil this victory in hopes that it does resolve her issues and she can go on to live a peaceful, law-abiding life. But that is how we finish this one. I would argue that it doesn't feature the same level of character growth or character progression as we have seen before, and it leaves us in a position where actually Crusher Man and Jamelia Jamil could and would turn back to crime. It's surprising that Tom Falcon, he does get back to 90s Thor and Crusher Man's bond again after this, because from this issue it seems to be destroyed by a simple confusion. I think both 90s Thor and She-Hulk, they acted like idiots in this, and the obvious solutions were far from their minds. It is a fun concept and a fun fight, but I feel it also was a disservice to the characters involved. I'll still give it 7 thumbs up.